welcome to the Sanctuary, a safe space to speak from the heart. I'm your host, Israel, and my guest today is the content creator, event organizer, and the founding member of House Praxis, my friend, Daniika. Thanks for coming to the podcast today.
Hello, thank you.
So, let's start there. What is House Praxis?
So that is it is a leather and MS family and house based out of Spokane, Washington. So me, my master, and my sister, we have a mission to kind of further education in a practical and more accessible way. Since we've noticed that there's a lot of theory being taught, but maybe not so much that's relatable and accessible and people can actually apply to their own lives and see themselves in. Um, so that is what that is. It is kind of like our family, and then it also has that mission attached to it.
Why is that important to you, though? The mission part.
It was really difficult when I got involved in the MS, the master slave community, to research everything and figure out what everything meant and how everything worked together and why people did things the way they did. And especially with me being somewhere on the neurodivergent spectrum, um, there was nothing that I saw myself in that. And I figured I couldn't have been like the only person having that problem, um, which I apparently is not the case because I have all these writings and people seem to love them. And the comment that I get back most often is that they're relatable. So yeah, it was a need that I saw myself, things that were lacking when I was looking for information, and I figured I couldn't be the only one.
On point. On point. So let's rewind that. What is your king slash master slave origin story?
So for about 3 years ago, I moved to Spokane, and I met my master at the time. He put me under his consideration a couple months later. That phase lasted for 18 months, so that was our vetting, our negotiations. We nailed down our alignments. We made sure we were compatible with each other and not just, we both like, masochism and sadism. We had to make sure like our values about what we thought about justice and, peace and punishment and all the big things too. So that phase took 18 months. After that, I got the collar February of last year. So I've been under his collar for a little under a year now. And we are 24/7 TPE. We live together.
TPE is?
Total power exchange. Easiest way I can explain that is both me and my sister have ceded all of our authority to him. He makes choices for us. He guides us. He pushes the direction of our lives. And he is the final say. So we've consented to all of this in advance. He checks in with us frequently, but he is like, the captain of our ship.
Mm, mm. Well, I mean, how did you, I guess, get to the realization that that was something you needed?
I tried lighter styles of dynamics first. I got into kink and BDSM probably like 10 years ago, and then got like deeper involved about 4 years ago. But even back then, I tried just playing around in the bedroom, and that wasn't quite enough for me. I felt like I needed more. And then I tried a DS, a dominant submissive dynamic. Um, and that wasn't quite doing it for me either. If I wanted to give myself, I wanted to give everything. Otherwise, it just didn't feel like it was real enough for me.
Mm, mm. And then how important is the labeling for you?
Not really all that important at all. So when we started this whole thing, he would always tell me we're not going for a label. Like, you are under my consideration and I am a master and you identify as a slave, but that doesn't mean we're necessarily going to MS. That's just kind of how we worked out together. Our roles just matched. But the labels, it's more of what you do. It's more of what you feel than the labels that you slap on yourself. I just use them because it's easier for other people to identify me.
Yeah, I mean, I love that your approach to it. 18 months. What are those 18 months? What did they look like for you?
So I was beginning of it, I was living in another location and we would see each other maybe like once a week. We'd have like our set times and we'd have scenes and he would assign me things to read and to write and to check on and we would have negotiations and talk about how things were going and gradually things would get added on like as they were needed. So when we were at a restaurant, all of a sudden he would say, "You can't leave the threshold without my permission." And slowly, the protocols and things like that got added on instead of kind of like front loading me with everything because I
Mm,
probably just would have freaked out and he would have forgotten to track something and it just probably would not have worked very well. So he would slowly start tacking things on. About a year into that, I moved into the house. So I now live with him and his other slave, who I call my sister. Not like blood sister, just slave sister, leather sister.
mhm.
Um, it's my cat, Ishtar. Um, now I moved in, and then it was about another 6 months after I was living in the house that I finally asked for his collar. Um,
Oh,
I
so
kind of
you
had like
asked for
yeah, I had a rule
yeah,
for
go ahead.
myself where I needed to like make sure I could live in this house before I agreed to wear this around my neck.
Mm,
I didn't want to do that before living here, just because things can change when you live with someone, you know. But no,
mm.
it worked. And yes, I asked for
So
his collar.
yeah, I guess I mean you've gone through this whole process, the adding things on bit by bit by bit by bit. At what point did you know, yes, okay, I'm ready? How what did that feel like for you?
So I pondered it for a really long time, like probably from like a year on. I'm like, should I ask now? Should I ask now? Should I ask now? And I wanted every time I asked myself that question, it was be like, am I asking this because it's going to make me feel better to have somebody else take control of this? Or am I asking this because it's something I actually want? Um,
Mm.
so once I had that second answer, and it wasn't because I was like in pain and trying to get away from something and be like, can you take this, please? Um, that is when I asked. And that took me 18 months to get to that point to be like, yes, I want to be yours. I will surrender. I will obey. I will, because that is what I need. That is what is better for me. And I'm happy here.
Mm. And what was it? Like, was there ceremony involved? Like, was it
A
what was
little.
that? Okay.
It's not like so people treat collarings differently. Some people it's kind of like whatever, they just chuck it on for play. Some people wear them as fashion jewelry. We treat them kind of like a wedding band, if not more serious than a wedding band. Like nobody is allowed to touch it except for me and him. Um, but small ceremony, nice dress. That he had some nice clothes. There was a knife, a little bit of blood. That contract you see on the wall back there that the light's shining in. We
Mm.
signed that night, but it was a group of close friends. I think there was 7 or 8 of us.
How did that feel for you?
Um, so it was sudden. It took a while to get all the jewelry in. We didn't really have like a plan. Um, and some events happened in our life where we just said, you know what, we are stuck down this road. We either do this or we don't. But it was happy. It was fun. I felt relieved, like, scary at first because it wasn't scheduled. It was kind of impromptu. So, like,
Mm,
I asked for the collar. We had it all custom ordered. That whole process took maybe like 3, 4 months. And then they were kind of just
mhm,
sitting there at the house waiting. Um,
mm.
so the actual moment was kind of sudden. It was just, we have all these people at the house. How about now?
Let's go
Um,
now.
but once we actually did it and everything was over and everybody was, I was kneeling and I had it on me, it was very relieving. Um, but it's grown since then. He warned me that that wasn't the end, and he was correct. Um, it's felt like more and more since then, if that makes sense.
Yeah, in what way?
Uh, More responsibility. It feels deeper than it did even on the collaring. Over time, I think I've grown more. I've grown more in the last 11 months, I think, than I did in the 18 months of consideration. I think that's why I'm getting that kind of discrepancy. Because as soon as I got this put on, I basically got chucked into event organizing and writing and, my own doing, not his. That was my choice. Um, but yeah.
How did that start for you though? The event
So,
organizing and writing?
yes. Um, so there was a bit of a gap in our community. We had a lot of events that were like at bars, alcohol involved. We had a lot of 101 discussions, but we were lacking anything more in depth, more complicated, more than are you a dominant or a submissive? Um, which is great, and those are important conversations to have, but I need a little bit more than that to further my own journey. Um, so I started a discussion group. It was called Crumbs of Control. The idea was we're going to have a discussion group about MS, master slave dynamics, and owner property dynamics, and all of these slightly more edgy type things that are not so well accepted in like a general, more vanilla type setting. And then I wanted cookies, so Crumbs of Control. Yeah. And then that spawned the writings because now I've got a discussion group, so now I need to think of topics. Um, so I started writing, and I have kept writing. It's kind of expanded since what started out as it was kind of originally like a place to put topics that weren't really great for what the discussion group was trying to do.
Mm.
Um, and then I realized I could link these to the discussion group. I could give people resources before they came, and they loved that too. And then I realized I could write about even more things that I had knowledge of that people seem to be interested in. Um, there doesn't seem to be a lot of content creators out there that are like actually like living in MS dynamics. There's a few, but I always struggle to find them. Um, I think maybe that's why people think it's so like intimidating and elusive and like all these things because I look like this big scary goth girl, but like I sleep with like 5 stuffed animals and a cat. So,
And writing, we'll get into the specific writings, but writing as a whole for you, where do you get that skill? Because there is a skill to writing, and you do it so well.
yeah, so I've always been relatively decent at it. I suppose I should thank my mother. She insisted on having me and my brother write like 3-page essays every day during the summer, which I loathed her for when I was like 8, 9, 10. But I suppose it was good for me. Um, it worked out. I also currently work kind of like in the technical writing, engineering, project management type world. So my regular life is kind of already centered around taking these more complicated topics and kind of nuancing them down and making them easier for people to understand.
Mm, mm. And you do that in your writings. But the other thing about your writing is that they are also super personal.
Yes.
So is that how do you navigate that?
So I wanted there to be a human aspect to my writings and the work that I put out because I always felt that that was lacking and everything was so bureaucratic and technical. And like, I'm sure that works for some people. It did not work for me. Um,
Mm,
there was, I have ran into the occasional issue with people getting a little bit too parasocial because of how much personal information I put in there. Um,
mm.
but it hasn't been that bad. And honestly, it's FetLife anyway, so I'm kind of expecting the weirdos and the creeps and generally can kind of just brush those off as, it's another Tuesday afternoon.
Right, 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 right. Was that easy to get there? Like the brushing, off of the negative people?
No, not always. Um I've had people come out and write like whole writings about me, like where they've gone back through my history and like made all these assumptions and like it's wild. Um that kind of thing is hard to deal with because that feels
Mm,
very, very personal. Um, people just coming at me and telling me that I'm a bad influence on women, or that my master is 21 years older than me. They tell me that, that is, predatory or whatever else. Those I can brush off much, much easier than like a personal attack.
Mm. Talking about specific writing, I can't remember the titles, but I'm sure when I talk about it, you'll have an idea of what I'm referring to. But the one that comes to mind, it's not a personal attack. You were kind of referring to how difficult it is being seen as a leader, like as an organizer, and how difficult it is, but specifically about being attacked. When you are created something that you felt was lacking,
Yeah.
now, yeah, this leadership position, everyone's like, hey, you are get the torches and the forks. Let's go.
Yeah, and like, not even just the torches and the forks, but like, "Hey, can we add this? And can we add this? And can we add this? And can we maybe not do that? And can we do this on Tuesday instead of Wednesday? And maybe at, like, 9 instead of 4?" Um, it's all of those little things that are honestly kind of, like, more than, the torches and the pitchforks.
But like, I mean, did you have an idea or did you think at all that it will come up? Yes, pitchforks. That you think at all that those would come up?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Lots of pitchforks. There are some spicier topics that I write about, or what people seem to think are spicy topics. Stuff like accountability and trauma and, consent and regret and things like that that are much more difficult topics to talk about. Um, I lost my train of thought.
No, no. I'll bring it back. I'll bring it back. We're kind of talking about that. Did you think that was going to be a thing?
Oh,
Like people,
yes.
yeah.
Yes, definitely. I knew this was gonna happen. It's the internet, You can't y you can hardly say a good thing without people coming out and saying something bad, let alone something that maybe not everybody does agree with. Um, so I knew it would be difficult, and over time, I've had to learn how to kind of pace myself with the comments and the moderation and things like that so I don't get, like, overwhelmed with it. Um,
Mm.
but yes, when I post something like that, I do kn know stuff's coming. Yeah.
And then, where do you feel that I don't want to say outspoken, but kind of standing on what you believe in and stating it as it is? Where do you think that comes from? Damning the consequences, which will come. You know what I mean?
Right. I'm trying to figure out, like, maybe where that started from. A lot of it, I think, is me being neurodivergent itself. And I've always had to kind of think out of the box and find some other way to get somewhere compared to how
Mm,
most people would get there. So I'm already thinking, well, I'm already going to have to do this in my own way. I'll get there, but we're going to take a few, side trips over there. There's going to be speed bumps. Um, that was a lot of it. I had a really influential mentor when I started work in my field. He has since passed, but we were complete polar opposites. Like, you see me as this, like, goth girl with all these piercings and tattoos and all this. He was like a very religious bishop, and I'm surprised he wanted to hire me. I was really, really shocked he wanted to hire me, but he wasn't concerned with how I looked. He was more
mm,
concerned with where my heart was, and the fact that I kept asking him why and wanted to actually understand what he was doing, not just
mm,
copy what he was doing. So he taught me, you all you have is you. You can't really care so much about what people think around you, because at the end of the day, it's just you and your values, your boundaries, the things you care about. Um, And that's carried on with me too, is that, at the end of the day, it's just me. Maybe the people around me that I love and that I care about, but I don't have to worry about other people's opinions if I don't want to.
mm. Yeah. I mean, okay,
That's like
that
the
part.
that is the easiest way for me to, like, cognitive dissonance myself around some of these people attacking me. Um,
Mm.
but it works.
Wait, actually, you took it out the talk. Now I'll get away from it, but I gotta ask this one. What do you think is in it for them? Like the people attacking or bringing things up
I
to
have no
you
idea.
online?
I can't relate with that. Like, I can
Right.
talk from a lot of different angles because I can relate from a lot of different angles. I can't relate to that. I don't have the spoons or the energy for that, so I don't know why somebody would do that. Maybe they just feel their opinion is that much more superior.
Mm.
That's what makes sense to me, but I don't know.
Okay. Let's go back to TPE. For the lay person out there checking out this episode, what it is like, what's the, I guess, the simplest way to break it down?
So it's not like micromanagement. Some people think that he's like managing my every single little decision, and that is total power exchange. We would both be exhausted. That's just not possible. We have more like expectations and guidelines and rules and protocols and all of these little things that kind of make structure into our day. Um,
Mm,
but it is a total authority transfer with us. So my agency, it belongs to him. Final says, final decisions. Um, if it's a little tiny thing, like if I'm at the grocery store and I want a candy bar, that I don't have to ask about that. But like if I'm looking at buying, like a new laptop that's going to cost me $500, I run that by him. Um, I don't have to like ask what kind of clothes I'm going to wear. But if we're going out to an event or we're going out somewhere, he can absolutely tell me to go change. Um, he could tell me to pick a new career if he wanted to, if mine started stressing me out too bad. Um, Basically, any choice that I could make, he makes for me if he feels the need.
mm. Does that, like, you mentioned a few times about being neurodivergent, and I'm like thinking how much of that factors into you needing this type of relationship?
Not like an insignificant amount, I don't think. Um, it provides a lot of structure. It provides like a reward and punishment system. It provides motivation. Um, you have extra accountability. It's got all the little pieces that my particular version of neurodivergence is lacking. Um, Like, I don't think this works for everybody that is autistic or, ADHD or whatever. It's just these things that I'm lacking happen to be made up for by a master slave dynamic.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah. And then, I mean, you don't have to share everything, but what are some of these protocols you have? Because you mentioned something earlier on. That's what I'm asking. Like when it was during the 18-month period, and you said you'd go to restaurants, like you can't cross the threshold. I'm like, actually, what was meant by that? The threshold, and yeah, what are some of the protocols you have?
So that threshold means like a building or a room or wherever we currently are. So, like, if
Okay.
we are, sitting at home, it would be if I wanted to leave the house. If we were at a restaurant, it would be if I wanted to go outside. Um, Things like just a building, a room. Other stuff we've got, obviously, there's titles and things like that. There's certain honorifics that he's never required them of me. They're in our dynamic, they are more inspired, but they are still kind of, expected. Um, Other things, my necklace or my collar and my bracelet, those are required. I have to wear them all the time. Um, we're not very protocol heavy. We kind of look strict from the outside, but a lot of it is more just structure and things that we've kind of just adapted into our daily life. It's not so much things that I have to do, it's just things that I do, if that's
Mm.
probably confusing. So, like, I have to keep a water bottle filled. I have to eat, food a couple times a day. Um, but it's not like we're not what I'd call high protocol. I'll put it that way. We're
Mm,
pretty
mm,
casual.
mm. What I'm learning a lot is that it's about finding the thing that works for the people involved,
Yes.
because there's no one size fits all.
No. not at all. Even with like my sister, she is like a completely different type of like she's coded as a submissive. I'm coded as a slave. She is still my master's slave, but we're two kind of different operating systems. So he treats
Mm,
her even differently than he treats me. We both carry the same title to him, but we can't be treated the same. He talks to me very directly, um, almost condescendingly, because if you're not super explicit with me, it will go like in one ear and out the other. But he's much
mm.
more subtle with her because she actually picks up on that. And if he was explicit with her, she might find that kind of rude.
Mm, 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 mm. Yeah, so it has to be designed for the people involved in the thing. You talked about explicit, and I'm going to refer to one of your writing. We actually talked about this earlier. The cutting of the grass.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, in the summer, he asked me to pull some weeds in the backyard, and it was rather hot, and he didn't tell me how many weeds or which weeds. So I just kept pulling weeds, and I got a little bit of heat exhaustion, and then I got in trouble for getting heat exhaustion. And he asked me why I didn't stop. And he said, I'm like, well, you just told me to pull weeds, so I thought more weeds is better, right? You want me to pull weeds, so more weeds.
Let's go.
That was my logic. Um,
Mm, mm,
Apparently not correct. So now he is explicit and, just pull that chunk of weeds from there to there.
mm.
So we don't have that problem again. But it's
Yeah.
even things like he used to say like, "Where's your water bottle?" And it took like legit 2 years for me to understand that that meant go get your water bottle. I would just sit there, "It's not here. Where's my water bottle? It's not here."
Eh.
And then he'd just stare at me, and it eventually it clicked that he meant go get the water bottle, but I need that explicit instruction. Otherwise, I'm just going to stare at you.
Yeah, no. Honestly, I think I understand why some people might find it rude, but I find that something I read recently is like being clear is being kind, right? Because when you're as clear as possible, there is no opportunity to. I mean, sure, we are all human, we can make mistakes, but when you're as clear as possible, the person kind of knows what the directive is. Like, this is what the thing is, and okay, this is what I have to do at this amount. Um, and that will be what is expected of me,
You can think you're being like super clear though, and still like absolutely like completely misunderstand each other. Because that
Yes,
happens to us
yes,
a lot too.
yes.
Um, Especially if you're like coming off with like different definitions of words and you're like saying that literally the same thing, but you mean two
Mm,
different things and you don't realize
mm,
that. So especially with the neurodivergence involved, like, or at least for me, I get a bit of processing delays when there's conflict. Like, I'll hear you and I can probably respond, but I'm not actually gonna like res- understand what you're saying for maybe like 15 minutes. So we kind of like pause, make sure we actually understand what each other means, and then come back to it if we get into a situation like that.
And that's kind of where that checking in comes in, right? Like you said a
Yeah.
thing and you make sure the other person understands what you were trying to say.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Check-ins, like, we'd also make sure just that everything is still good, that you're still happy.
Mm,
Um,
mm, mm,
because, all of this is consensual and we want to be here. And if there's for some reason you're unhappy, that needs to be mentioned. So
mm,
that's the part of the
mm.
check-ins too.
Yeah, no, no, no. Yeah, yeah. It's really very important. And then communication is key. All right, so let's talk about a bit about communication. Like, yes, you do all your writings and stuff, but how important is communication, especially in your dynamic?
It is the second rule in our house. So, first one would be self-preservation, which is, protect the property, keep yourself alive, don't die. Second rule, communicate in the moment. So that means if you're feeling something, if there is anything going on, you need to speak up now or whenever is dynamically appropriate. If you're in the middle of a high protocol setting, maybe don't, interrupt your master with something very frivolous, but 2 hours later, I lost my train of thought again. I'm sorry.
No, you're talking about your communication
Oh, yes.
being the second rule, yeah?
Yes, communicate in the moment. So, especially as somebody that's neurodivergent, I don't always know what's going on. I'm not great at tracking down emotions right in the heat of something, might just feel like it is tense. Um,
Mm,
but I might not know what's wrong. So even in moments like that, I'm expected to tell him, "Hey, there's something up. I'm uncomfortable. There's something wrong."
mm,
So that he at least has that information. Since he's making choices for me, all of my
mm,
choices, he can't do that unless I provide him information. So that's
mm.
why that rule comes in second. Very, very, very important.
Yeah, no. It's like, it's like a computer program. You have to give the correct data or else you get crap out on the other side.
Yes,
So,
yes, exactly.
huh. And then another thing I wanted to talk about. So, like with house praxis, what are some things you have to do to prepare for events?
So we run a couple of different events. One of them is just like a social lunch. That one is very, very easy, requires no preparation or, well, little preparation
Mm,
on my part because we host it at a restaurant. Um, so not much in that one, and it's just kind of we sit around. It's a munch. Basically like hang out in a vanilla place and chat with people who also happen to be kinky. There's
mm,
like no play or anything involved in that, so no real. Um, it did take some setup to start to find a venue, though. Like now that it's running, it's fine, but finding a place was difficult. Um, yeah, and then the
What made
discussion.
that difficult? Like
I
finding
live
the.
I live in a smaller town. Well, not
Oh,
small.
okay.
Small to me. I'm originally from like California and Phoenix, which has like 7 million people or something, and now I live in Spokane, which has like 200,000. Um, so there's a limited number of buildings that have the requirements that I need, which would be like a room that can fit maybe 50 to 60 people and is semi-sectioned off and doesn't have
Mm,
gratuity tacked onto parties and things like that. So when you're working with a limited number of businesses when you have requirements like that.
mm.
So
Well, glad you found a place that works.
yeah, yeah. The discussion groups require a little bit more effort. Those ones I bake for those, which is something that I kind of wish I never started because now I'm kind of stuck doing it. I'm good at
Oh,
it though.
okay. What do you typically bake for it?
It depends on the size of the group. Um,
Okay.
So I've done my favorite. I think was the little mini pies. Did little mini pies around Thanksgiving, but I've done creme brulee. Or not creme brulee,
Okay, see,
cheesecake.
this is the problem. You're doing the most. Just do cookies. Just
I
do
do
cookies.
occasionally do cookies, but cheesecake's really good.
Oh
Um,
my god! Like, see, that's the thing. It's so involved. I'm like, what? Like, okay, well, I see why. Okay, I see why now.
so there's the making of the
God.
cheesecake,
Yeah.
which takes like
Yeah.
2 days, and then
Yeah.
we set up all of our spaces downstairs. We if it's me or my master doing the discussion, then we'll usually have to spend some time coming up with notes. Um,
Mm,
so there's time involved in that too, plus all the vetting that goes into meeting new people. Since we hosted at our home,
mm.
I like to make sure people aren't like 3 raccoons in a trench coat before. Not that I would mind, like, I would love to have 3 raccoons as a pet, but, like, I don't think my master would approve. Um, so it's just that is probably the most time-consuming, portion is the vetting, which is
Mm,
kind of why I have the munch in the first place, so that
right.
I can maybe just, like, get 2 or 3 of them done in one location instead of having to drive to a
Yeah.
coffee shop 5 times a week.
But like, with your writing, actually, what's your process for writing?
I start with a topic or a title usually, um, a basic one to start out with. Like, I have one that I'm working on right now about punishment in MS. So right now it's just sitting there and it just says punishment. Um, and then
Okay.
I try and come up with something that's a bit relatable. and then some of the core topics, and I outline all of that out. And then I kind of just bit and piece, put things where they go, read through it a few times, shove it all around. I'm very, very thankful that FetLife has fixed their HTML coding problem that they've had over the last month, because I wasn't able to copy and paste anything around like I usually do, and I'd lose all my formatting, which was
Oh
driving me
no.
insane. But they fixed it this week, so
Fingers crossed.
back at
Okay.
it.
Okay. And that's the next thing you go that will go up likely, or do you work on more than one at the same time? You know what I mean?
Usually more than one at the same time. So, or sometimes I'll start with one and then it'll start getting really, really long, and then I'll realize I'll have to break it out into multiple. Um, Sometimes I just run out of brain power halfway through one and I have to pick it up, you know. I might pick it up the next day, I might pick it up 2 weeks later, whenever I can, find the energy to get back into it. Um,
Mm,
I don't do much work on the writings, actually writing them on my work days. I mostly just post them during the week. I do all the writing on the weekends.
mm.
I don't have brain to do 9 to 5 job and write. No, separate days. Uh,
Okay. Okay.
and then my master does also review all of my social media content. So he does review
Mm.
all of these. He doesn't rewrite them. He doesn't really make changes. He'll usually look at it, look at me, and then go typo. So, or he'll point out little nuances that I've missed, because he's been around doing this for 2 decades plus. So
Mm,
I've got 4-ish years of experience, but obviously he's got 5 times that. So
mm,
all of my writings, and probably why they have so much kind of that seem like they have so much background knowledge, is a lot of that is coming from him.
mm, mm, mm.
He's
What
taught me
is it
well.
like? Exactly. That was I was guess you kind of answered, but I'll still ask it anyway. What is it like being in your dynamic? Like, not just in the dynamic, but with the person you are with, like their level of experience. That's what I'm asking. Yeah.
it's it's comforting. He knows pretty much everything that I would ever want to know, and then if he doesn't, he goes and looks it up. Um, which is, kinda nice. I don't think people ever really finish learning. Anybody that thinks they've seen it all is maybe a little egotistical, but,
Mm-hmm,
uh,
mm-hmm.
so,
It's wonderful having someone that has that level of skill or has that knowledge and has that depth of knowledge to share with you, you know?
it's been really, really helpful in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously there's the practical stuff, like we can do all of the impact and the rope and all of the, stuff you'd see in the dungeon. But
Mm,
he's also got all the experience in the group leadership, because he's done, what I'm doing now for a decade. So, um, it does kind of feel like cheating a little bit,
mm,
because I can take, my thoughts and my ideas and bring them to him, or bring them to a couple other, strong people that I know in our community, and be like, "Does this make sense to you?" Um, so I do lean on them a lot, like
mm,
a lot,
mm,
a lot. I couldn't do what I do without, their help and their teaching me and their patience and my incessant questioning.
mm. I guess the question is really important. It pays to be curious, and then it is great to be curious when you have access to people with that fountain of knowledge. So you're in the right place to be. Here's one though. House of Praxis, what are some plans you have coming up? Like, I love the website, but like, what are some things you have planned for the website?
For the website specifically, man, I don't know yet. I don't know what I wanna do with that yet. Yeah, so the website, I decided I wanted to throw that together, like my camera, I wish it would stop doing this. Um, I wanted to throw that together, like, the idea occurred to me around a little bit before Christmas, and I figured I could do it, so I chucked it together in like a week. And now it's there, and it's kind of like, I don't know if you ever seen South Park, the underwear pants gnomes episode, where it's like they have like the things and then question and then end. So it's
All
like
right.
I made the website, now
Right.
I don't know what to do with it. The goal is to educate people. I just need to
Right.
figure out what to do with it. So,
Okay.
it'll likely have some classes on there in the future. I don't think we're really ever gonna charge for content. I don't really want to charge for content. So all of my writings up there are free. If I ever, I might do a book in the future. Obviously, I would charge for a book, but anything I upload on the website, I would want to be, available to anybody.
Mm. I really enjoy talking with you, and I'm like, okay, I can keep this going forever, but I want to end with this though. If someone is out there checking out this episode and they're like, oh man, this sounds great, or I'm kind of where you used to be like a couple of years ago, what advice would you have to share knowing what you know now, telling someone that's just kind of starting their own journey?
Read a lot, like a lot, a lot, a lot, and not just from kink and BDSM sources, but even if you think you are a slave or a submissive, read books about leadership, read books about strategy, read books about philosophy and history. Everything in there is still relevant. Um, Peers and mentors. You can do like a lot of things in a box around here. Like you can be technically correct, which is like the best kind of correct, but maybe not here, by reading and watching YouTube videos. But you do really need that human connection when you're operating in this world. They serve as checks and balances, they keep you safe, they can fill in gaps in your understanding where you don't know nowhere else to look.
Mm,
Um, Attend events in person if you can. I was involved in the online communities before I started attending in person events, and it is a completely different vibe. People are still, going to do people things like ghost you and be not, the best, but
mm,
they are more genuine. They are more looking for real connection. Um, you're probably more likely to find something lasting in an online community than online. And yeah, I think that would be it. Everything else is mentioned a lot.
read, 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 educate yourself. Man, Danica, this has been awesome, really eye
Yeah.
opening, and I can't wait to read the next post you put up. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, and thank you so much for coming to the sanctuary today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been good. Thank you.